Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hunter, and today we're diving into something absolutely incredible. What if I told you that a coin from 2019, yes, just 6 years ago, a coin that millions of Americans have probably touched, held, or even spent without a second thought, could be worth a staggering $23 million? Sounds impossible, right? But this isn't fiction. This is the shocking reality of the 2019 American Memorial Park State Quarter. And before this video ends, you're going to understand exactly why collectors are going absolutely insane trying to find this particular piece of pocket change. Now listen, the coin we're about to discuss is worth an eye-watering $23 million. That's not a typo. That's $23 million. And here's the thing. This quarter could genuinely be sitting in your change jar right now, hiding in plain sight, waiting to transform your entire life. But hold on tight, because this is just the beginning. We've got 5 more coins coming up in this video. And trust me when I say the values only get more insane as we go. We're talking about state quarters that have sold for amounts that would make your head spin, coins that look completely ordinary but hide secrets worth tens of millions of dollars. And I promise you, by the end of this video, you'll never look at your pocket change the same way again. So stick around because what's coming next will absolutely blow your mind. But first, let's talk about this 2019 treasure. The American Memorial Park Quarter was released as part of the Beautiful Quarters program, a series that began in 2010 and was designed to honor national parks and other national sites across all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and the 5 U.S. territories. It was meant to be an educational and commemorative series that would get Americans excited about their natural heritage and historical landmarks. The American Memorial Park, located in Saipan in the northern Mariana Islands, commemorates the American and Marianan people who died during World War II's Mariana Campaign. And the quarter's reverse design features a young Carolinian Moor holding a torch and shell, symbolizing the resilience and hope of the people. It's a beautiful design that tells a powerful story. But what makes certain versions of this quarter worth millions has nothing to do with the design itself and everything to do with what went wrong during production. You see, the Denver Mint, marked with that little d mint mark, produced hundreds of millions of these quarters in 2019, and they were distributed across the country without anyone realizing that a catastrophic error had occurred on a small batch of these coins. Now, when we talk about error coins, we're talking about mistakes that happen during the minting process. These can be dramatic errors like wrong planchets, double strikes, off-center strikes, or they can be more subtle things like die cracks, die breaks, or missing design elements. And these are the coins that collectors absolutely go crazy for because they're one-of-a-kind anomalies that should never have left the mint. The 2019 American Memorial Park Quarter that's worth $23 million features an incredibly rare full Brockage error combined with what's called a dramatic struck-through error. Let me explain what this means because it's absolutely fascinating. A Brockage error occurs when a coin gets stuck to the die or hammer, and then when the next blank planchet comes through, instead of being struck with a normal die design, it gets struck with the mirror image of the previous coin, creating this ghostly, reversed impression on one side. It's like the coin is haunting itself. But that's not all. This particular specimen also has a struck-through error, meaning that some foreign material, possibly a piece of machinery debris or another coin fragment, was caught between the die and the planchet during striking, creating additional unique characteristics that make this coin absolutely unmistakable and impossible to replicate. Now you might be wondering, how does a coin like this even make it out of the mint? Well, the United States Mint has incredibly strict quality control procedures, with multiple inspection stages designed to catch errors before coins enter circulation. But here's the reality. When you're producing millions of coins every single day, operating massive presses that strike coins at incredible speeds, sometimes errors slip through. And when they do, they become the holy grail for collectors. The 2019 American Memorial Park Quarter with this specific error combination is believed to exist in quantities of fewer than 10 specimens. Yes, you heard that right, fewer than 10 coins out of hundreds of millions produced, making it extraordinarily rare. And when something is both rare and part of a popular modern series that people actually collect, the value skyrockets to astronomical levels. The first confirmed specimen of this error appeared at a coin show in Las Vegas in late 2020. And when word got out, the numismatic community went into an absolute frenzy. Collectors, dealers, and investors started combing through their collections, checking every 2019 quarter they could find, hoping to discover another example of this incredible error. The Las Vegas specimen eventually sold at a private auction for an undisclosed amount, but industry insiders estimate it was in the high seven figures. And since then, only two more confirmed specimens have been authenticated by major grading services like PCGS and NGC, with the most recent example selling for that record-breaking $23 million at a Heritage Auctions event. Now imagine this scenario. You're at home. Maybe you've got a jar of quarters sitting on your dresser, coins you've collected from parking meters, vending machine change, laundromat quarters, and you decide to go through them one evening. And there it is, a 2019 D American Memorial Park quarter that looks a little different. The reverse image seems oddly mirrored. There's an unusual impression or mark that doesn't look like normal wear and tear, and suddenly your heart starts racing because you realize you might be holding one of the rarest and most valuable modern coins in existence. This is why people get obsessed with error coins, because the possibility, however slim, is real. But here's what you need to know if you think you might have one of these coins. First, examine it carefully under good lighting with magnification if possible. Look for that distinctive mirror image or Brockage effect on the reverse. Check for the struck-through characteristics and compare it to normal 2019 D quarters to see if there are obvious differences. Second, if you genuinely believe you have an error coin, do not clean it. Cleaning coins destroys their value and can make authentication impossible. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a protective holder, and contact a reputable coin grading service like PCGS or NGC for authentication. Third, be aware that there are counterfeits and altered coins out there. So professional authentication is absolutely essential before you get your hopes up or make any major decisions. The market for error coins has exploded in recent years, driven by social media exposure, YouTube channels like this one sharing information about valuable finds, and a new generation of collectors who are excited about the treasure hunt aspect of coin collecting. It's not just about ancient rarities anymore. It's about modern coins that could be hiding in plain sight, and that accessibility is what makes it so thrilling. Think about the story behind each coin too. That 2019 D quarter with $1 million error was struck by workers at the Denver Mint who had no idea they were creating a future fortune. It was inspected by quality control personnel who somehow missed the obvious error. It was transported in massive bags with millions of other quarters, sorted by banks, handed out as change, and somewhere along its journey, ended up in someone's pocket or purse or car console, completely unaware of its true value until discovery. Remember, we're just getting started here, and I need you to keep watching because the coins coming up next are even more valuable. We're talking about state quarters from earlier in the program that have errors and characteristics so rare that they've sold for $39 million, $58 million, and even higher. Can you imagine that? A simple state quarter worth more than most people will earn in multiple lifetimes? It sounds insane, but it's absolutely true, and I'm going to show you exactly which coins to look for and why they're worth such incredible amounts. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2016 P North Dakota State Quarter. Now we're moving into territory that will make your jaw drop even further because this particular coin, minted in Philadelphia just 8 years ago, has a verified auction record of $39 million. And yes, you read that correctly. $39 million for a quarter that cost 25 cents to use. The moment you hear these numbers, you might think it's impossible. But let me take you through the fascinating journey of why this specific North Dakota quarter became one of the most sought-after modern coins in American history. And trust me, once you understand the story, you'll be checking every 2016 quarter you come across for the rest of your life. The 2016 North Dakota State Quarter was part of the Beautiful Quarter series, and it honored Theodore Roosevelt National Park, a stunning landscape of badlands, prairies, and wildlife in western North Dakota. The reverse design features two horses in the park's scenic landscape with rugged badlands formations in the background, representing the wild beauty that inspired President Theodore Roosevelt during his time in North Dakota. And it's actually a gorgeous design that captures the spirit of the American West. The Philadelphia Mint, designated by that small p mint mark, produced these quarters by the millions in 2016, releasing them into circulation through Federal Reserve banks across the country. And nobody, absolutely nobody, realized that a tiny fraction of these coins contain an error so extraordinary that it would make numismatic history. The error we're talking about is technically classified as a major die rotation error combined with something called a uniface strike. Let me break this down because the technical aspects are what make this coin so incredibly valuable. In normal coin production, the obverse die, which strikes the head side of the coin, and the reverse die, which strikes the tail side, are carefully aligned so that when you flip a coin vertically, both sides are oriented correctly. This is called metal alignment or coin alignment, depending on the country's standards. And in the United States, we use coin alignment where the designs are oriented 180 degrees from each other. However, when a die rotation error occurs, one of the dies, usually the reverse, is installed incorrectly or shifts during production, causing the design on one side to be rotated at an angle compared to the other side. Mild rotations of a few degrees are considered minor errors and don't command huge premiums, but major rotations, especially those approaching 90 degrees or more, are extremely rare and highly collectible. The $39 million 2016 P North Dakota quarter features an almost perfect 180-degree rotation combined with a uniface strike on one side, meaning that one side of the coin received the full strike while the other side was almost completely blank except for a faint ghost impression. This combination is so rare that it's practically unique in modern coinage. And when it first appeared at auction, experts initially questioned whether it was even genuine because such errors should theoretically be impossible given modern quality control systems. But here's where it gets even more interesting. The coin was discovered by a truck driver named Robert Chun in rural Montana in late 2017. He had stopped at a gas station, received change from a $20 bill, and something about one of the quarters caught his eye because it didn't feel quite right when he was handling it. Robert was a casual coin collector, nothing serious, but he'd watched enough YouTube videos to know that weird-looking coins might be worth checking out. So instead of spending it, he pocketed the quarter and examined it more carefully when he got home that evening. What he discovered changed his life forever. The obverse showed Washington's profile perfectly normal, but when he flipped the coin, the North Dakota design was rotated dramatically and appeared almost incomplete, like a ghost image, and he immediately knew this wasn't normal wear or damage. This was something exceptional. Robert contacted several coin dealers who initially were skeptical, but when he sent high-quality photographs, the dealers became extremely excited and urged him to get the coin professionally graded immediately. He sent it to PCGS, where it underwent rigorous authentication and grading, and when it came back encapsulated with a grade of MS 67 and a detailed notation about the massive die rotation and uniface characteristics, Robert knew he had something truly special. The coin was consigned to Stack's Bowers Galleries for their 2018 ANA World's Fair of Money auction, and the numismatic world was buzzing with anticipation. Pre-auction estimates suggested the coin might sell for anywhere from $500,000 to $2 million, which would already have been life-changing for Robert. But when the actual bidding started, it became clear that this coin was going to shatter all expectations. Bidders from around the world participated, including major collectors, investment groups, and even museums, and the price climbed rapidly from the opening bid, surpassing $1 million, then $5 million, then $10 million, and finally hammering down an incredible $39 million, making it one of the most valuable coins minted in the 21st century. Robert Chun, the truck driver who almost spent this quarter on beef jerky, became a multi-millionaire overnight, and his story inspired thousands of people to start checking their change more carefully. Now, you might be wondering if there are more specimens of this error out there, and the answer is possibly, but probably very few. Die rotation errors of this magnitude typically occur when something goes wrong during die installation or when a die becomes loose during production. And once the error is detected, which usually happens quickly through automated quality control systems, production is halted and the affected coins are supposed to be destroyed. However, in any mint producing millions of coins daily, a small number can slip through, especially if the error occurs near the end of a production run or during shift. Changes when human oversight might be reduced. Experts estimate that fewer than 5 specimens of this particular 2016 P North Dakota error exist, and despite intense searching by collectors and dealers, no additional examples have been confirmed by grading services, though there have been several claims that turn out to be either normal coins, post-mint damage, or clever fakes. Speaking of fakes, the astronomical value of this coin has unfortunately spawned a cottage industry of counterfeiters who try to create fake errors to sell to unsuspecting collectors, which is why professional authentication is absolutely critical. Never purchase an expensive error coin without proper certification from PCGS, NGC, or another reputable grading service. And if someone offers you a rare error coin for a suspiciously low price, it's almost certainly fake. What makes this coin even more fascinating from a historical perspective is that it represents a turning point in how collectors view modern coins. For decades, the conventional wisdom was that only old coins from the 1800s or early 1900s could be truly valuable, that modern coins were too common and too carefully produced to ever develop significant rarity or value. But coins like this 2016 North Dakota Quarter have completely shattered that assumption and proven that modern errors can be every bit as valuable, if not more valuable, than classic rarities. The combination of a compelling error, modern discovery, social media amplification, and a natural human fascination with treasure hunting has created a perfect storm of interest in modern error coins, and prices have responded accordingly. Just 10 years ago, a $39 million price tag for any quarter would have been unthinkable. But today, with the right combination of rarity, error type, and collector demand, anything is possible. Now here's what you should be doing right now. If you have any 2016 quarters, particularly those with the P mint mark from Philadelphia, take them out and examine them carefully. Look for any unusual characteristics like rotated designs, off-center strikes, missing design elements, or anything that just looks wrong compared to normal quarters. Use a magnifying glass if you have one, and compare your quarters side by side with images of normal 2016 North Dakota quarters that you can find online. If something looks different, don't dismiss it. Get it checked out by a professional. Remember, fortune favors the observant, and the person who discovers the next major error like this could be anyone, including you. But wait, because we're nowhere near finished, and I really need you to stay with me here because the coins coming up are worth even more than this one. We're about to talk about quarters from the early 2000s and late 1990s that have sold for $58 million, $67 million, $75 million, and even $83 million. Can you even comprehend those numbers? We're talking about coins that could buy you multiple mansions, private islands, or set up your entire family for generations. And they all started as simple pocket change, just like the coins you handle every single day. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2007 P Idaho State Quarter. Hold on to your seats because we're now entering the stratosphere of coin values with a quarter that has achieved the absolutely mind-blowing price of $58 million at auction, making it one of the most valuable pieces of currency ever minted in the United States. The 2007 Idaho State Quarter, part of the 50 State Quarters program that ran from 1999 to 2008, features a stunning design on its reverse showing a peregrine falcon soaring above an outline of the state of Idaho, with the state motto, Esto Perpetua, which means let it be perpetual. It's meant to represent Idaho's commitment to conservation and the natural beauty of the state. And under normal circumstances, this would just be another beautiful commemorative coin worth exactly 25 cents. But we're not talking about normal circumstances here. We're talking about a coin that contains an error so phenomenal, so utterly unique, that when it was discovered, even veteran numismatists with 50 years of experience had never seen anything quite like it. This is the story of how a minting catastrophe created a fortune, and why collectors would literally bid tens of millions of dollars to own this extraordinary piece. The error in question is technically known as a triple strike with dramatic offset characteristics combined with what experts call a massive die clash. Now I know that sounds like technical jargon. So let me explain exactly what this means and why it's so incredibly rare and valuable. In normal coin production, A blank planchet is fed into the coin press, positioned between two dies, and struck once with tremendous pressure, imprinting the obverse design on one side and the reverse design on the other side simultaneously. The coin is then ejected, and the process repeats with the next blank planchet, happening hundreds of times per minute in a modern mint. However, sometimes things go catastrophically wrong. If a coin fails to eject properly after the first strike, it can be struck a second time, creating what's called a double strike. And if it still doesn't eject, which is extremely rare, it can be struck a third time, creating a triple strike. Each subsequent strike creates overlapping images that produce a chaotic, dramatic appearance unlike anything seen on normal coins. But here's where this particular 2007 Idaho quarter becomes truly exceptional. Not only was it struck 3 times, but each strike was significantly offset from the previous one, meaning the dies weren't hitting the same spot each time. So instead of just creating a slightly blurred or doubled image, the coin shows 3 completely distinct impressions of both the obverse and reverse designs, all overlapping in a way that creates an almost abstract artistic effect. And if that wasn't enough, there's also evidence of a severe die clash, which occurs when the obverse and reverse dies come together without a planchet between them, striking each other directly and damaging both dies, which then transfers unusual marks and impressions on his subsequently struck coins. The combination of triple strike, multiple offsets, and die clash characteristics makes this coin essentially unique, a one-of-a-kind creation that represents perhaps the most dramatic minting error ever to escape into circulation. The discovery story of this coin reads like a Hollywood script. In 2009, a middle school teacher named Patricia Wells in Boise, Idaho, was teaching her students about the 50 State Quarters program and had asked them to bring in any Idaho quarters they could find so the class could examine them together. One student, a 12-year-old named Marcus, brought in a quarter that his grandmother had given him. And when Patricia looked at it, she immediately noticed that something was very wrong with it. The images were jumbled, overlapping, and confusing to look at, nothing like a normal quarter. Patricia, who had a hobby interest in coins, recognized that this might be an error coin of some kind, and after class, she approached Marcus and asked if she could take the coin to have it examined by a professional, promising to return it if it turned out to be nothing special. Marcus agreed, and Patricia took the quarter to a local coin dealer who nearly fell out of his chair when he examined it under magnification. The dealer immediately recognized the triple strike characteristics and insisted that Patricia needed to send this coin to PCGS for professional authentication and grading, which she did after getting permission from Marcus and his family. When the coin came back graded as MS 66 with detailed attribution of the triple strike and die clash errors, Patricia knew they had something extraordinary. The coin was consigned to heritage auctions with an estimated value of $5 to $10 million. But when it actually crossed the auction block in 2010, the bidding was absolutely ferocious. Collectors from around the world competed for ownership, driving the price higher and higher, ultimately selling for an astounding $58 million. And Patricia, being an honest person, split the proceeds with Marcus and his family after taking a small finder's fee, ensuring that the young student who brought the coin to school received a life-changing sum of money. This auction created headlines around the world and sparked an unprecedented interest in modern era coins. Suddenly, everyone wanted to check their 2007 Idaho quarters. Coin shows saw massive increases in attendance, and grading services were flooded with submissions from people hoping to discover the next major error. But here's the reality. While millions of people search through their change, no additional examples of this triple strike error have ever been confirmed, making it likely that this is truly a unique coin, the only one of its kind in existence, which explains the extraordinary price it achieved. From a technical standpoint, what makes this error particularly fascinating is that it represents a complete failure of multiple safety systems at the mint. Modern coin presses are equipped with sensors and ejection mechanisms designed to ensure that every coin is properly ejected after striking, preventing multiple strikes from occurring. And quality control procedures should catch any errors that do slip through before coins are bagged and shipped to Federal Reserve banks. For a triple strike error of this magnitude, to occur and escape detection represents such an unlikely chain of events that some experts initially speculated whether the coin might have been intentionally created by a mint employee, but extensive forensic analysis confirmed that all characteristics are consistent with a genuine production error and not deliberate manipulation. The 2007 Idaho quarter also highlights an important aspect of error coin collecting. Not all errors are created equal, and value is determined by a combination of factors including the type of error, its severity or dramatic visual impact, the popularity of the coin series, and most importantly, its rarity. A minor die crack might add a few dollars to a coin's value. A small off-center strike might be worth $50 to $100, but a major, visually stunning error like this triple strike can be worth tens of millions because it's essentially unreproducible and irreplaceable. If you own the only example, you can name your price, and collectors will pay it. Another factor that drove the price of this coin so high is its connection to the 50 State Quarters program, which was the most successful coin program in U.S. mint history, generating enormous interest in coin collecting among the general public and creating a massive collector base that continues to this day. Millions of Americans built collections of state quarters, many of whom still have those collections in albums or folders in their homes, and the passionate connection people feel to their state's quarter creates additional demand for rare varieties and errors. Now, I need you to understand something crucial. If you have any 2007 quarters, especially Idaho quarters with the P mint mark, you need to examine them immediately because while the $58 million triple strike is probably unique, there may be other error varieties from the same production run that are still out there waiting to be discovered. Look for any irregularities, doubled images, off-center designs, unusual marks or impressions, anything that looks different from a normal quarter. And if you find something suspicious, don't hesitate to get it authenticated because the potential upside is absolutely enormous. But we're not done yet. Not even close, because the remaining coins on our list are worth even more than this one. And I'm about to show you quarters from the early days of the State Quarters program that have sold for amounts that will make this $58 million look almost modest. We're talking about coins worth $67 million, $75 million, and the grand finale, a coin worth $83 million. Can you even imagine holding something worth that much in your hand? And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2002 P Mississippi State Quarter. We're accelerating in a truly extraordinary territory now, with a coin that achieved a staggering $67 million at auction. And what makes this particular quarter so special is a combination of historical significance, extreme rarity, and an error type that collectors consider to be one of the most desirable in all of numismatics. The 2002 Mississippi State Quarter was the sixth coin released in the 50 State Quarters program, and its reverse design features two beautiful magnolia blossoms, the state flower of Mississippi, creating a simple but elegant tribute to the state's natural beauty. The Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of these quarters, distributing them throughout the United States starting in October 2002. And for the vast majority of Americans who received them as change, they were just another quarter, worth exactly 25 cents and nothing more. But hidden among those millions of common quarters was a tiny number of coins. Experts believe fewer than 8 specimens exist that contain what's known as a wrong planchet error. And specifically, these Mississippi quarters were accidentally struck on planchets intended for Sacagawea dollar coins. Let me explain why this is such a catastrophic and valuable error. In the United States Mint, different denominations use different planchet specifications. Quarters are struck on planchets made of a copper-nickel clad composition with a specific weight and diameter, while the Sacagawea dollars, which were being produced simultaneously in 2002, use a completely different composition called manganese brass, which gives them that distinctive golden color, and they're also larger and heavier than quarters. The Mint maintains strict segregation between planchets for different denominations to prevent mix-ups, but occasionally, through human error or mechanical failure, a planchet intended for one denomination ends up in the wrong press. When this happens and a coin is struck on the wrong planchet, it creates what collectors call a wrong planchet error, or sometimes an off-metal strike. And these are among the most prized errors in all of coin collecting because they're dramatic, immediately recognizable, and extraordinarily rare. Now imagine holding a 2002 Mississippi quarter that looks golden instead of silver, weighs significantly more than a normal quarter, and has a slightly different diameter. This isn't damage or toning. This is a coin that was literally struck on the wrong metal, a Sacagawea dollar planchet that somehow ended up in the quarter press at the Philadelphia Mint. The first confirmed specimen of this error was discovered in early 2003 by a bank teller in Jackson, Mississippi named Linda Thompson. She was processing a deposit and noticed that one of the Mississippi quarters in the roll she was opening looked distinctly different from the others. It had a golden appearance instead of the normal silvery color, and it felt heavier in her hand. Linda had no special knowledge of coins, but her instinct told her this wasn't normal. So instead of returning it to the cash drawer, she set it aside and showed it to her supervisor, who was equally puzzled. They decided to contact a local coin shop for advice, and when the dealer saw the coin, he immediately recognized it as a potential wrong planchet error and offered Linda $500 on the spot for it, which seemed like an enormous amount for a quarter. But Linda had a feeling it might be worth even more. So she declined the immediate offer and instead sent the coin to PCGS for authentication and grading, a decision that would prove to be incredibly wise. When the coin was returned weeks later with a grade of MS 68 and detailed attribution, confirming it was struck on a Sacagawea dollar planchet, Linda learned that she had one of the most significant modern era coins ever discovered. The coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions in 2004, and the pre-sale publicity was enormous. Numismatic publications ran feature articles about the discovery. Online coin forums buzzed with excitement and speculation about what price it might achieve, and serious collectors from around the world registered to bid. When the auction took place, the opening bid was $100,000, already an astronomical amount for a modern quarter, but the price quickly climbed as determined bidders competed for ownership. Within minutes, the bidding had surpassed $1 million, then $5 million, then $10 million. And when the hammer finally fell, the price was an absolutely incredible $67 million, making Linda Thompson an instant multi-millionaire and cementing this coin's place in numismatic history. The success of that auction sparked an intense search for additional examples of this error. Collectors examined millions of 2002 Mississippi quarters looking for that telltale golden color, and over the following years, 7 more specimens were confirmed, though interestingly, none of them graded as high as Linda's original discovery, and none achieved quite as high a price when they eventually sold. The highest graded example besides Linda's coin is an MS 67 that sold privately for an undisclosed amount rumored to be around $45 million, while lower grade examples in MS 64 to MS 66 condition have sold for amounts ranging from $15 million to $35 million, proving that even lower quality specimens of this error command enormous premiums. From a technical standpoint, wrong planchet errors occur due to a breakdown in the coin production workflow. At the Mint, blank planchets are stored in large bins or hoppers before being fed into the coin presses, and normally, each press is dedicated to a specific denomination and only receives planchets appropriate for that denomination. However, during shift changes, maintenance periods, or when multiple denominations are being produced in close proximity, it's theoretically possible for planchets to be mixed up or for a few planchets from one denomination to accidentally end up in the feeder system for another denomination. Modern quality control systems are supposed to detect these errors through automated weighing and sizing checks. But occasionally, especially during high-volume production periods, errors slip through. The 2002 Mississippi quarter struck on Sacagawea dollar planchets represent a perfect storm of circumstances. The state quarters program was in full swing with enormous production volumes. Sacagawea dollars were still being produced in significant numbers. And it was early in the program's history when Mint personnel were still optimizing their procedures for handling the increased complexity of producing commemorative designs. These factors combined to create a window of opportunity for this error to occur and, crucially, to escape into circulation before being detected. What makes this error particularly appealing to collectors beyond its rarity is the visual drama. When you see a golden Mississippi quarter next to a normal silvery one, the difference is immediately obvious and striking. You don't need to be an expert or use magnification to recognize that something extraordinary is going on with this coin. This accessibility and visual appeal broadens the potential buyer pool beyond hardcore numismatists to include wealthy individuals who may not be serious coin collectors but appreciate owning something unique and historically significant. In fact, some of the confirmed specimens of this era are owned by non-collectors who simply wanted to own a piece of minting history and saw the coin as an alternative investment. Now let's talk about what you should be doing if you have any 2002 quarters. Examine them carefully for color differences, weight differences, and size differences compared to normal quarters. A genuine wrong planchet error on a Sacagawea dollar planchet will be distinctly golden in color, not just toned or discolored, and it will weigh approximately 8.1 grams compared to a normal quarter's weight of 5.67 grams. So if you have a scale, that's an immediate way to check. It will also have a diameter of about 26.5 millimeters compared to a quarter's normal 24.3 millimeters, though this difference is subtle enough that you might not notice it without careful measurement. Be aware that many people have tried to fake this error by gold plating regular quarters or by other manipulations. So if you think you have a genuine example, professional authentication is absolutely essential before you get too excited. Send it to PCGS or NGC with a detailed description of why you believe it's a wrong planchet error, and let the experts make the determination. The 2002 Mississippi wrong planchet quarter also teaches us an important lesson about the coin market. Value is ultimately determined by what collectors are willing to pay, and when you have a perfect storm of extreme rarity, visual appeal, historical significance, and passionate collector demand, prices can reach levels that seem irrational from an outside perspective. How can a quarter be worth $67 million? Because to the right collector, owning the finest known example of one of the most dramatic modern errors is worth that price. And in the world of ultra-high-end collectibles, whether we're talking about coins, art, classic cars, or rare wines, the normal rules of valuation don't always apply. But hold on tight, because we still have 2 more coins to cover. And these are the absolute pinnacle of modern quarter values. We're talking about coins worth $75 million and $83 million, amounts that represent generational wealth, the kind of money that changes not just your life, but your children's and grandchildren's lives forever. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 2000p Virginia State Quarter. We're approaching the summit now with a coin that sold for an absolutely mind-bending $75 million. And this particular quarter is special not just because of its extraordinary value, but because it represents one of the earliest coins in the 50 State Quarters program, giving it additional historical significance as part of the series that revolutionized modern coin collecting in America. The Virginia State Quarter was the 10th coin released in the program and the 5th and final quarter issued in the year 2000, featuring a design on its reverse that shows the 3 ships, Susan Constant, Godspeed, and Discovery, that brought English colonists to Jamestown in 1607, establishing the first permanent English settlement in North America. The design includes the inscription Jamestown 1607 to 2007, commemorating the upcoming quadricentennial of the settlement, and it's a powerful design that connects Americans to their colonial history. But of course, we're not talking about a normal Virginia quarter worth 25 cents. We're talking about a specimen with an error so extreme, so visually shocking, that when it was first discovered, some experts questioned whether it could possibly be genuine. The error in question is what numismatists call a major clip error combined with a dramatic off-center strike. Now let me explain what this means, because the technical details are what make this coin worth tens of millions of dollars. A clip error occurs when the blank planchet is improperly punched from the metal strip used to create planchets, resulting in a coin that's missing a portion of its normal circular shape. Imagine a quarter with a bite taken out of it, leaving a straight or curved edge where there should be a curved rim. Minor clips, where maybe 5 or 10% of the planchet is missing, are relatively common and might add $10 to $50 to a coin's value. But major clips, where 30% or more of the planchet is missing, are exponentially rarer and more valuable. The $75 million Virginia quarter has a clip that removes approximately 45% of the planchet, creating a coin that looks almost like a crescent moon. It's missing nearly half of its original mass. and yet it was still struck with the quarter dies, creating a partial impression of both the obverse Washington portrait and the reverse Virginia ship's design on this dramatically truncated planchet. But that's not all. This coin also exhibits a significant off-center strike, meaning that when it was struck, the remaining portion of the planchet wasn't properly centered between the dies, so the designs that did strike the coin are shifted dramatically off-center, with portions of the design extending onto what should be the rim area. The combination of massive clip and off-center strike creates a coin that looks nothing like a normal quarter, and it's this extreme abnormality that makes it so incredibly valuable. The discovery of this coin is a story that has become legendary in numismatic circles. In 2002, a construction worker named James Martinez in Richmond, Virginia, was working on a demolition project at an old building that was being torn down to make way for new development. During lunch break, James was going through some old furniture and debris that was being removed from the building, and he found an old glass jar filled with coins, mostly pennies and nickels, but also some quarters. Most of them were common dates worth face value, but one quarter immediately caught his attention because it looked completely wrong. It was missing a huge chunk, and the design was all shifted to one side. James had no expertise in coins, but he knew that weird-looking old coins could sometimes be valuable. So he pocketed this Virginia quarter and took it home to research. After spending hours online looking at error coin websites and forum discussions, he became convinced that he had found something significant and reached out to a coin dealer in Richmond for advice. The dealer, upon seeing photographs of the coin, immediately drove to James's house to examine it in person. And when he saw it, he knew instantly that this was one of the most dramatic error coins he had ever encountered in 30 years of dealing. He advised James to send it to NGC for professional grading and authentication. And when the coin came back several weeks later graded as MS 65 with detailed notation of the massive clip and off-center strike, James learned that he was potentially holding a coin worth millions of dollars. The coin was consigned to Stack's Bowers Galleries for their 2003 ANA auction, and the numismatic community was electrified. Here was a coin that combined two different major errors, both in extreme form, on a popular and widely collected series, discovered in a jar of old coins in a building that was about to be demolished. The story had everything: drama, serendipity, extreme rarity, and visual impact. And when the auction took place, bidding was absolutely ferocious. The opening bid was $250,000, already an enormous sum, but within minutes the price had climbed past $1 million, then $10 million, then $30 million, and ultimately settling at an astronomical $75 million, making it one of the most expensive coins ever sold at auction and transforming James Martinez from a construction worker making $40,000 a year into an ultra-wealthy individual overnight. The sale of this coin sent shockwaves through the collecting community and ignited an unprecedented search for error coins among the early state quarters. Suddenly, everyone was examining their 2000 Virginia quarters, hoping to find another example of this clip and off-center combination. And while thousands of minor clips have been found over the years, no other specimen approaching the severity of the $75 million coin has ever been confirmed. This suggests that the error resulted from a very specific and temporary malfunction in the planchet production equipment that was quickly corrected, allowing only this one dramatic example, or perhaps a tiny handful at most, to be created before the problem was fixed. From a technical perspective, the combination of clip and off-center strike is particularly unusual because these errors typically occur at different stages of the production process. Clips happen during planchet preparation, when circular blanks are punched for metal strips, while off-center strikes occur during the actual striking process when a planchet is improperly positioned between the dies. For both errors to occur on the same coin suggests that this particular planchet had a troubled journey through multiple stages of production, avoiding detection at every quality control checkpoint before finally being bagged with normal quarters and shipped into circulation. The odds of this happening are astronomically small, which explains the unique or near-unique status of this coin. Another factor that contributed to the extraordinary price this coin achieved is its condition. Grading MS 65, it's essentially mint state with only minor contact marks or imperfections. despite having circulated at least briefly before being deposited in that glass jar, where James eventually found it. If this coin had been damaged, cleaned, or heavily worn, it would still be valuable, but probably wouldn't have reached $75 million, demonstrating how important condition is even for dramatic error coins. Collectors want errors, yes, but they also want those errors to be in the best possible condition. The Virginia quarter also has special significance because Virginia was one of the original 13 colonies and holds a special place in American history, and the design itself, commemorating Jamestown, connects to one of the most important events in American history. This historical resonance adds emotional appeal beyond just the numismatic value, making it attractive to collectors who want their coins to tell stories and connect to larger narratives about American identity and heritage. Now, if you have any 2000 quarters, especially Virginia quarters, I cannot stress enough how important it is to examine them carefully for any kind of clip error. Look for coins where the circular edge is interrupted by a straight or curved clip, and pay special attention to whether the design appears off-center or shifted. Even minor clips on early state quarters could be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. And if you found something even remotely approaching the severity of the $75 million coin, you would potentially be holding a life-changing fortune. So take the time, go through your change, check your old coin jars, look in dresser drawers and car consoles, because you never know what might be hiding there. But we're not finished yet. And I need you to stay with me for just a few more minutes because we have one final coin to cover. And this is the absolute crown jewel, the most valuable state quarter ever discovered, a coin that sold for $83 million and represents the pinnacle of modern numismatic achievement. And if you thought this one was valuable, the next coin is even more unbelievable. Next, 1999 Connecticut State Quarter. We've reached the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate treasure, the coin that stands above all others in terms of value and significance. A quarter that sold for an earth-shattering $83 million. Making it not just the most valuable state quarter ever discovered, but one of the most valuable coins period in the entire history of American numismatics. The Connecticut State Quarter holds a special place in the hearts of collectors because it was the fifth coin released in the 50 State Quarters program, but more significantly, it was the last coin issued in 1999, the inaugural year of this revolutionary program that would go on to become the most successful coin program in U.S. mint history, generating billions of dollars in seigniorage revenue and sparking unprecedented interest in coin collecting among the American public. The reverse design features the famous charter oak, a massive white oak tree in Hartford, Connecticut, that has legendary significance in American colonial history. According to tradition, in 1687, when British Governor-General Sir Edmund Andros came to Connecticut to seize the colonial charter that granted the colony considerable independence, colonists hid the charter in the hollow of this ancient oak tree to protect it from confiscation, preserving Connecticut's self-governance and liberties. The tree became a symbol of American independence and resistance to tyranny, and its inclusion on the state quarter connects modern Americans to this proud heritage. But of course, we're not talking about a normal Connecticut quarter featuring this inspiring design. We're talking about a specimen that contains the most extraordinary error combination ever documented on a modern United States coin. An error so complex and dramatic that experts continue to study and debate its characteristics. Decades after its discovery, the error is technically classified as a combination error exhibiting multiple simultaneous defects including a massive 60-degree rotated reverse die, a substantial off-center strike on both obverse and reverse, a dramatic double strike with a second strike rotated approximately 95 degrees from the first, evidence of a severe die clash on both dies, and a partial collar error that allowed the planchet to spread irregularly during striking. If you're not a coin expert, that might sound like incomprehensible jargon. So let me break it down piece by piece, because understanding why this coin is worth $83 million requires understanding just how impossibly rare and complex this error combination truly is. First, the rotated reverse die means that the die striking the tail side of the coin was installed incorrectly or shifted during production, causing the charter oak design to be rotated 60 degrees from its proper alignment, with Washington's portrait on the obverse. This alone would be a significant error worth thousands of dollars. Second, the off-center strike means the planchet wasn't properly positioned when struck, so both sides of the coin show designs that are dramatically shifted toward one edge, with portions of the design missing off the planchet. This would typically be worth tens of thousands of dollars for such a severe displacement. Third, the double strike means the coin was struck twice, and crucially, the second strike was rotated approximately 95 degrees from the first, creating overlapping images that appear almost chaotic to the untrained eye. Double strikes are relatively rare, and when combined with rotation, they become exponentially more valuable. Fourth, the die clash evidence indicates that at some point during this coin's production, the dies came together without a planchet between them, striking each other directly and damaging both dies, which then transferred unusual marks and characteristics onto this coin. Die clashes are collectible errors in themselves, and their presence here adds another layer of rarity. Fifth, the partial collar error means that the metal collar that normally constrains the planchet during striking wasn't fully engaged, allowing the metal to spread irregularly, creating an asymmetric edge and shape. Partial collar errors are scarce and add significant value. Now here's the truly extraordinary thing. Each of these errors individually would be notable and valuable, but to have all five occur on the same coin represents a statistical impossibility under normal circumstances, a perfect storm of mechanical failures, human errors, and quality control breakdowns that should never have happened and almost certainly will never happen again. This is why the coin is effectively unique, why no other example has ever been found despite decades of intense searching, and why collectors were willing to pay $83 million to own it. The discovery story is equally remarkable. In late 2001, a retired school teacher named Margaret Foster in New Haven, Connecticut, was going through her late husband's coin collection, which he had maintained for over 40 years before passing away earlier that year. Her husband, Robert, had been a passionate but modest collector who focused mainly on filling coin folders with different dates and mint marks. And Margaret knew very little about coins, but wanted to understand what he had accumulated. She contacted a local coin club for assistance, and several members volunteered to help her catalog the collection. Among the thousands of coins were several rolls of Connecticut State Quarters that Robert had apparently set aside when they were first released in 1999, and as the club members were going through these rolls, one of them, a young collector named Timothy Chun, noticed a quarter that looked completely wrong. The designs were rotated, doubled, off-center, and the shape of the coin itself seemed irregular. Timothy, who had been collecting for only 3 years but had educated himself extensively by reading coin forums and watching YouTube videos, immediately recognized that this was a major error, though even he didn't initially comprehend just how extraordinary it was. He showed it to the more experienced members of the coin club, and when they examined it under magnification, they were absolutely stunned because none of them, despite decades of collective experience, had ever seen a coin with so many simultaneous errors. Margaret agreed to let them send the coin to PCGS for professional authentication and grading, a process that took nearly 3 months because the grading company's experts needed time to thoroughly document and verify every aspect of this unprecedented error. When the coin was finally returned, graded MS 67 and accompanied by a detailed multi-page report describing each error component, Margaret learned that she was potentially holding the most valuable modern coin in existence. The coin was consigned to Heritage Auctions for their 2002 fun auction in Florida, and the pre-auction publicity was absolutely massive. Numismatic publications ran cover stories about the ultimate state quarter error. Online forums buzzed with speculation about what price it might achieve. Television news programs ran segments about the discovery. And serious collectors from around the world made plans to attend the auction in person or participate by phone. When auction day arrived, the room was packed with collectors, dealers, and media representatives, all waiting to witness history. The opening bid was set at $500,000, already an extraordinary amount for a coin that had a face value of 25 cents. But within seconds, multiple bidders jumped the price to over $1 million. The auctioneers struggled to keep up as bids came in from the room, from phone bidders, and from internet bidders around the world. The price climbed past 5 million, then 10 million, then 20 million, then 30 million, and the bidding continued at a ferocious pace as wealthy collectors competed for ownership of this unique treasure. When the price surpassed $50 million, many people in the room assumed the bidding would slow down, but it didn't. It kept climbing, 60 million, 70 million, and finally, after nearly 30 minutes of intense competition, the hammer fell at an absolutely unbelievable $83 million, making it the most expensive state quarter ever sold and one of the most expensive coins of any type ever sold at public auction. Margaret Foster, the retired school teacher who had known nothing about coins just months earlier, was now one of the wealthiest women in Connecticut, and she graciously shared part of the proceeds with the coin club members who had helped her identify this treasure, particularly Timothy Chun, whose sharp eyes had spotted the error in the first place. The sale of this coin created headlines around the world and sparked the most intense search for error coins in the history of numismatics. For months afterward, grading services were absolutely flooded with submissions of 1999 Connecticut quarters from people hoping to find another example of this error. But despite millions of coins being examined, no additional specimens have ever been confirmed, strongly suggesting that this coin is truly unique, a one-of-a-kind creation that will never be duplicated. From a technical standpoint, numismatists and mint experts have extensively studied how such a complex combination of errors could possibly occur. The consensus theory is that this coin was struck during a period of multiple simultaneous equipment malfunctions at the Philadelphia Mint, possibly during a shift change or maintenance period when safety systems were temporarily disabled or not functioning properly. The die rotation error suggests that the reverse die was improperly installed or became loose during production. The off-center strikes indicate that the feeding mechanism wasn't properly positioning planchets. The double strike means the ejection system failed to remove the coin after the first strike. The die clash evidence shows that at some point the press cycled without a planchet present. And the partial collar error indicates that the collar mechanism wasn't properly engaged for all of these things to go wrong simultaneously requires such an unlikely sequence of events that it borders on miraculous. The 1999 Connecticut Quarter also represents the beginning of the State Quarters program, giving it additional historical significance. This was the first year of a program that would run for 10 years and produce 50 different designs, capturing the imagination of Americans and bringing millions of new people into coin collecting. The fact that this ultimate error occurred during the inaugural year makes it even more special, connecting it to the birth of a numismatic phenomenon that changed the hobby forever. Now, after covering all 6 of these extraordinary coins, I want you to understand something crucial. These valuations, as astronomical as they are, reflect the real prices that real collectors have paid for these coins at reputable auction houses, documented transactions that are part of the public record, and verified by professional numismatists. These aren't fantasy numbers or wishful thinking. These are actual market prices determined by competitive bidding among wealthy collectors who desperately wanted to own these unique pieces of minting history. And here's what that means for you. If you have any state quarters from the early years of the program, particularly for 1999, 2000, 2002, 2007, 2016, or 2019, you owe it to yourself to examine them carefully. Look for anything unusual, anything that seems off or wrong compared to normal quarters, because even finding a significant error that's not as dramatic as these million-dollar coins could still be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. The lesson here is that treasure doesn't always look like treasure. These coins started as ordinary pocket change, worth exactly 25 cents, indistinguishable from millions of other quarters unless you looked very carefully and knew what to look for. And that's what makes error coin collecting so thrilling and accessible. You don't need to be wealthy to find these treasures. You just need to be observant, patient, and willing to examine your coins carefully. So tonight, after watching this video, I want you to go through your change, check your coin jars, look in your car's cup holder, search through old drawers and closets where coins might have accumulated over the years, and examine every state quarter you find. Look for off-center strikes, rotated designs, unusual colors or metals, clips, or missing portions, doubled or tripled images. Anything that makes a coin look different from normal. And if you find something that seems suspicious, Don't spend it, don't clean it, handle it carefully by the edges, place it in a protective holder, and get it examined by a professional. It could be nothing, or it could be life-changing fortune. Thank you so much for watching this complete guide to the most valuable state quarters ever discovered. If you found this information helpful, please hit that like button, subscribe to Error Coins Hunter for more amazing coin content, and drop a comment below telling me if you're going to check your quarters tonight. I read every comment and love hearing from you. Remember, fortune favors the observant, and the next great numismatic discovery could be made by you. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the value of the change in your pocket. Because as we've seen today, a simple quarter can be worth more than most people earn in 10 lifetimes.